have little else in the way of purpose or meaning to occupy their time. It's just sort of in the public. And this is fulfilling an urge, as it were. And if there was more of a pride in other things, in values, say, you would see less focusing on Big Brother and Celebrity Desert Island or whatever it's called, and more focus upon, the wide world and what's going on out there.
We're just so saturated in images and images of high achievers, and people feel that they need to be almost in touch with those high achievers, that it becomes a whirlpool of expectation.
I don't think there is a thirst for celebrity. I think it's just something that's been created, and it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. That people now think that celebrity is the only way to sell a book, to sell a TV program, to sell a restaurant, to sell everything.
Maybe it's a sort of hangover from the days when people respected the aristocracy. That's all gone, and we have to be deferential to something. So now the Beckhams are our royal family.
Thank you very, very much for coming tonight. It's great to see you on this beautiful evening, and getting ties on and coming indoors. I wanted to sort of start by saying, well, this is such a fantastic and big room, and it's such a tiny book. I do hope that you don't think I'm a fraud. It has already had some kind of commercial interest from Ladybird, so that's pretty good. I'm pleased to say. But I do believe that brevity is the soul of wit, and so it's important that you get your points across as succinctly as possible. It is a polemic. Really, what made me write it, or what interested me, was that people kept quoting that Margaret Thatcher said there is no such thing as society. Well, she didn't actually say that. She was very misquoted, as we know. But what has happened, therefore, is that it was the supposed individualism of the Thatcher years which gave rise to a kind of rampant selfishness and egotism and I'm all right, Jack. The point of this book, really, is to argue that while that might have had some impact, the trends and the beliefs and the thoughts that basically were already in place for a long time before are really what have led us to the situation that we're in now. Whether you're talking about selfish antisocial behavior, whether you're talking about the belief in the educational system that everything must emanate from the child, all across the social situation, these were things that were in place and already having, I would say, an insidious effect from long before Mrs. Thatcher's days. So that's really what I'm arguing in this book. The way that I do it is by taking 5 characters, people I made up. They relate to nobody in the room much. This I thought was a good way of sort of somehow hanging on to these characters, all the various different points that I was trying to make in the book. Having said that that's my conclusion, having said that's what it's about, I do hope that it doesn't stop you wanting to read it. As they say, it's better to journey than to arrive. I should also, because I think if I go on much longer, the speech will actually be longer than the book. But I've also had a couple of things pointed out. Somebody just said that the picture in this cover here looks like what they call the Zoolander shot. I don't know whether any of you know that movie, Zoolander. I wasn't trying to make a kind of ironic point there. It's pure vanity on my part. But also, I just wanted to say thank you very, very much to Michael Mossback of the Social Affairs Unit for organising tonight. He is amazingly self-effacing. So he runs as an exception that proves the rule to my book, I think, Michael. So I'm very pleased and very thankful to him and to the Travellers Club. And also, I would, at that point, I would like to say, with Boris in mind, I think we should really, as he said last week, just let's have a drink, and tomorrow get down to some good reading. So thank you very, very much for coming.
Only a very few people could be real celebrities in the past. You had to be exceptionally beautiful or exceptionally talented or exceptionally brilliant. The whole point about new celebrity is you don't actually have to be anything. You don't have to be good at anything. You don't have to master the talent. So it's diametrically opposed. We use the same word, but it's not the same thing.
Still, an icon develops over time, so it's very hard to say which of the current stable of sort of Heat magazine celebrities might be deemed to be iconic in the future. I think whether we like it or not, Sunday people would probably imagine that Victoria Beckham was quite iconic in her day.
I think people for the last 5,000 years, perhaps longer, have been very self-obsessed. I don't think it's something that people have only recently discovered.
People can have plastic surgery, whereas not so long ago it was unheard of to think about mutilating yourself to look better.
I think now that we've had our basic needs satisfied and we have much more free time, we've got much more disposable income, as a result of that we're perhaps more able to indulge in ourselves. But whether or not we're more or less self-interest, I don't know if there's any empirical data to say one way or the other, but I think it's fair to say we are more interested in what we can get materially for ourselves, and it ties back into the whole concept of celebrity, the desire to have more than perhaps we need, to have more than anyone else around us, and to emulate those at the top, the celebrities, the people we admire so much apparently.
Definitely. People are very good at knowing their rights, but they don't know about responsibilities anymore. There's no sense that... I think people almost live in this solipsistic isolation where they really imagine that they are the only person that counts. There is no such thing as society anymore.